This week on the channel, I talk about what it takes to be a professional musician and why a lot of people don't fully understand what it means. How the heck are ya? My name is Adam. Thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time here, my goal is to help you make good money playing music. If that sounds like something you're into, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss anything. In the course of posting videos the past few years, I feel like I get the same questions over and over, so I feel like it was time to post a series of videos that kind of break down the basics of what it takes to be a working musician. The one question that gets asked over and over is probably the most basic. What does it mean to be a professional musician? And look, there's a lot of schools of thought on this subject, but I wanted to go ahead and give you my take on the question and also what I think it's getting to the heart of. So let's break it down to the basics. In my opinion, a professional musician is a person who gets paid to play music on a regular basis. If your band plays out for more than just a bar tab, congratulations, you're a professional musician. Some may argue that music needs to be your primary source of income in order to be considered a professional, but let's not kid ourselves. Even players that tour with big-name artists don't make their living solely by performing and recording. Nearly every musician I know has one or multiple side hustles they're using to pay their bills. This, to me, widens the population of professional musicians considerably, and I think that's a good thing. If more musicians looked at themselves through this lens, I think the entire musician population would be much more successful. Now that solves the internal struggle I think a lot of players face. We all know the damage that imposter syndrome can have in our mental health, so rest assured that the barrier of entry has been met. On the other hand, I do think there are some specific things you need to do in order to be considered a professional musician by others. This week's video is primarily for musicians looking to join bigger groups or to establish themselves as a sub or hired gun in their local market. So since we're such big fans of lists around here, here are the 5 things you need to be considered a professional musician. Number 1, you need to be competent on your instrument. This means that whatever gig you take, your abilities match or exceed the material you're going to cover. One mistake I see a lot of players make is they overpromise and underdeliver on the gigs that they volunteer for. For me personally, I'm a solid rhythm guitar player, an okay lead guitarist, a solid rock bass player, and a very competent vocalist. Any gig that crosses my path where I don't feel like I'm a good fit, more than likely I'm going to pass it along to someone else. My primary goal as a player is to show up and crush. If I don't think I can do that, I don't take the gig. Number 2, you need the right gear for the job. You need to make sure that the tools you're using for this gig line up with the level of the act that you're playing with. If they use Kempers, you need a direct solution as well. If they use live amps on stage, you're gonna need one of those too. Also, just like your dad says, dress for the job you want. Make sure you're not sticking out on stage with the instrument you're playing or the outfit you're wearing. If you're filling in for a country band, don't bring that tribal BC Rich Warlock to the gig. And look, it may seem silly to talk about clothing or fashion for this kind of thing, but the fact of the matter is that live performance is a visual medium as much as it is an auditory one. And those kinds of things really do matter. On the topic of blending in, be aware of the performance style of the other players and try to do your best to be on the same level. If the rest of the group is kind of laid back on stage and you're doing hair windmills or standing in front of the lead singer, that's gonna hurt your chances of being called back. Do your best to look like you belong there, even if you don't necessarily feel like you do. Number 3, you need to know the material.
You're the worst, dude.
If you want to come into an established project or set a certain price point in your market as a player, you need to make sure you've done all the necessary legwork to do a good job. That not only means that you work through the songs provided for the show, but that you ask specific questions about the changes that the band may have made to the songs, such as different endings, stops, or unique moments that they've engineered for their live show. That attention to detail is crucial for any musician looking to establish themselves in the marketplace. Number 4, you need to be easy to get along with. Touching back on the toxic mindset video, your talent can only get you so far. Personality and hang is equally important, if not more so, than how well you play. Live music is a fluid, collaborative experience, and you either contribute to or take away from the vibe on stage based on the way that you act. And that's not just with the musicians on stage. That also includes people like the venue staff, fans, and anyone else you come into contact with. Someone put their neck out and gave you an opportunity. The very least you could do is not be a jerk. And lastly, number 5, you need to do a good job.
drummer's
Preparation or personality aside, you need to show up to the show on time or early with everything you need and perform your ass off. You need to make sure you're not stepping on anybody's toes. That may mean asking for permission to post about the show to social media, or before recording yourself or the group at the gig. That also usually means not getting carried away with the bar tab. You should be clear-headed enough to execute well, whatever that means for you personally. Above all, the people who hired you should see you as consistent and reliable, and both of those things are 100% in your control. So do the work ahead of time and make sure you see it through to the other side. Whether you play 5 gigs a week, 5 gigs a month, or 5 gigs a year, this is what it takes to be a true professional. Well guys, there you have it. Those are the 5 things you need in order to be considered a professional musician. Were there any things that I forgot? Leave a comment below and let me know. That's gonna do it for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. We post new videos here every single Friday. Also, if you're into a more in-depth conversation about what it takes to be a working musician, we're now posting full-length episodes of our weekly podcast on the YouTube channel. They're gonna have their own playlists, so go ahead and check those out. Have an awesome week, and we'll see you next time.